This is a customer's rifle in .300 Winchester short magnum, which we built for him for shooting large deer species in the UK and for shooting plains game in Africa. And the rifle is fitted with a muzzle brake to make the recoil a little bit more manageable in a lightweight hunting rifle. Now the customer wants to be able to use the rifle to shoot more deer in the UK. He wants us to fit it with a sound moderator, which in itself is not a massive problem. But muzzle brakes are very, very often fitted with a very, very fine thread pitch so that you don't eat into the barrel too far in the threading operation. And this rifle has a 9/16 by 28 thread form on it, which is a very, very fine thread pitch, and it's more complicated to find a suppressor in that thread form. And the customer has specified they want a very, very good ATEC H2 moderator on the rifle. And given time, we could get an ATEC in the correct thread pitch from ATEC in Norway through Peter Jackson, Jackson Rifles, who imports the moderator. Unfortunately, as we have to deal with quite often, the customer wants this done very, very rapidly. So what we're going to do is we're going to take an H2 with an 18x1 thread form, and we're going to make a thread converter so that we can put what's called a top hat inside the moderator and reduce the thread from an 18x1 thread form down to 9/16 by 28. Now, that has to be done very, very delicately, because if we don't align everything perfectly, then obviously you've got a much higher chance of either getting a baffle strike or even the projectile just travelling too close to the baffle and the air cushion of compressed air around the bullet disturbing the bullet in flight and therefore degrading the rifle's accuracy. So we have to handle the business of making a thread reducer or a top hat with extremely high precision. So to make the thread reducer or top hat, we've taken a piece of cut off stainless steel barrel. We've mounted it into the chuck and we've dialed it into the bore. And then we've formed an 18x1 thread on the outside diameter here. And then we've opened up with a drill, we've drilled out the hole and we've gone in with a boring bar until we've got to the correct dimensions ready to form the 9/16 by 28 thread with a single point threading tool. And we've broken this corner just to ease the passage of the threading tool in as we cut the 9/16 28 thread. And then the last thing we're going to do is we'll turn this outside diameter here, all without removing the part from the lathe. So we've cut the outside diameter thread, we've cut the internal diameter thread, and we've turned the outside diameter without removing it from the lathe. We can then take the part, the cut off part, and we can put it back into the lathe in a mandrel, dial back up onto this turned outside diameter so that we've got an absolute true no run out situation, and then we will face off the part. And doing that last step is critical because that back face is what ties up to the shoulder on the barrel and makes sure that the moderator sits square on the thread. And then the last step is to fix everything in place. So we degrease the thread on the rifle and we completely degrease the top hat or thread reducer. Then we grease the threads on the rifle barrel to make sure that nothing gets stuck to the rifle barrel. And then we put thread locker on the top hat, 18x1 thread. We screw the top hat onto the rifle barrel, and then we screw the moderator over the top of the top hat, tie that up, and then leave that to set up overnight. Then we can reassemble the moderator. The moderator will come on and off, and the top hat is thread locked or bonded into the moderator, and the moderator is now a 9/16 by 28 H2 moderator without the customer having to wait for the moderator to be made in Norway. Now the customer has complete interchangeability between his new moderator and his existing muzzle brake. So depending on what his shooting requirements are, he can jump backwards and forwards between his moderator and his muzzle brake as the situation dictates. all done.